Hello everybody, the Lord Root here, and welcome back to another episode of Back to Basics. So today I thought we would get Joeing, kinda rhymes with Boeing, doesn't it? We'll get Joeing out of orbit, but we'll also do our satellite contracts. And before we do that, I think we should head over to the contract building because we have a couple of new contracts here. We have, for instance, this guy, which is to position a satellite in a specific orbit of the moon. And we also have a polar satellite here. And a polar satellite wouldn't be bad for us to have. So I'm going to maybe do that as well. We get a lot of science out of it, so I'm going to go ahead and queue that up. But before we get this guy rescued, we need to do some R&D. Specifically, we need to spend money to unlock parts, and so I've already pre-built this Satellite 1 here, and you can see that we need to get this solid fuel booster foremost, but we also want the RCS, and of course these thruster blocks here. Now, I've designed a completely new stage for this. This is, before I forget to, the thermometer, because we want to get science out of this as well. But at any rate, what I was getting at was that I designed this new stage here, and I do want to get into the habit of creating rockets that are reusable or usable for other applications. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name this one Rockets. Just give it, I don't know, maybe something like that. And in this subassembly, I'm going to take this guy down here. And what I want to do specifically is create a clone of this, and we will call this Long Tall Sally, so that we always have it. The solid fuel booster on the bottom is simply meant to be a mechanism so that we don't spend as much money on this, although this is pretty expensive. It's enough to get us into orbit and fairly cheaply. This guy is more expensive because he's like 8 grand, so we're not wasting that much, and we plan to recover this stage. So, on to the launch. One of the first things we want to do is we want to take this guy here. I'm going to grab free launch pad science. So we'll log the temperature and transmit it. And I'm turning on SAS simply because of the fact that if we do not, or not SAS, but RCS. I mean, SAS is good to have too, but without the RCS, the solid fuel booster doesn't have enough gimbaling. So let's take off. And slog that temperature for now. In fact, let's transmit it. We have more than enough power for that transmission to occur. So at about 3K or so, we will drop this stage. You can see we're barely using any RCS, keeping this thing straight. That's a good sign, because one of the issues that we'll run into here is that, I mean, we got the gimbaling engine on the bottom, or in the middle stage here, but without that RCS being used as it should, we'll start running into problems. So we are about to stage. And in this case, what I want to do is go ahead and get this guy up. We're going to go for this dude here, which means we need to start flattening out our orbit pretty soon. Now those orbits there are not spot on. I thought they might have been, so I originally put RCS on here. I decided to keep RCS because really without it, there is a bit of an issue to where, we might possibly run out of fuel. And so it's a good backup solution. And it's good for minor adjustments if we need them. So I'm going to start turning here in a bit. Probably right about now. And I'm going to deflect my prograde vector down as quickly as we can. Now, as it turns out, let's see, we're not in low atmosphere yet. But, as it turns out, this is actually a fairly easy task to accomplish. At least from our standpoint. I think low atmosphere begins, or high atmosphere begins about 20 or so. Let's just give it a shot around, maybe even a little bit higher. There we go, upper atmosphere. And let's take a look at our time to apoapsis. It is slowly growing. We'll do stage only so we can see just about what our fuel consumption is. It looks like we're a little bit on the low side here. You know what, we might as well target the moon so we can maintain our apses. And we are about to stage. So there we go. We are very slowly losing our time to apoapsis. Though that'll change soon enough. And given our current heading, we may do okay with that. So let's raise the sky up just a little bit. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and do an apoapsis burn. Like that. We should be more or less fine here, so my approach is going to be, in order to maintain our argument of periapsis, which again does not have to be perfect, I'm going to get this guy up about as high as we can. We're still in the atmosphere, so we're really just wanting to keep the sky nice and even. And we're about to be out of the thick part of the atmosphere, which is good news for us. In fact, we're a little bit above where we want to be now. It's probably better to be a little bit below because we can make that adjustment as needed. So 6905, that is much better. That's 853. That's almost the amount we need to get to the moon. But, you know, I can think of worse things that could happen here. So I think maybe the best thing for us to do at this point is to get ready to collect our science. This will fulfill another contract we have. We'll just transmit this. And that will help us just a little bit. And there we go. We are now satisfactorily where we want to be, and this thermometer is almost dead weight, except it's a massless part. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're doing okay so far. We got plenty of fuel left, and that's something that we definitely want. And we have a 57-second burn time, which is not bad. We just need to go ahead here and, you know, I'm thinking if it's 57 seconds, then maybe the best thing for us to do is to burn around 18 or so. So let's do that. Except that was way, way, way off. Because it was 28, not 18. And the idea, of course, is that we are going to get this guy aligned with our apoapsis meter. There we go. Well, I want to raise my apsis. Maybe like that. We're still on a good descending node here, so I think that that's not bad. We just need to come around here now and set up our orbit for circularizing this thing. Although I guess it's not exactly a circularization burn. This orbit is somewhat eccentric. And it will take some time to get up here. But I think we're doing okay. We just need to get our periapsis lined up. And that's 5,002 versus 944. Bring that down just a little bit. Again, it does not have to be perfect. In fact, this is probably incredibly close to the target orbit, truth be told. But I do like to do things right when I do them. And we have more than enough fuel for this for sure. But let's get close to our burn point. We have 19 seconds, so somewhere between 9 and 10. Oh. Well, okay. I missed that burn point, unfortunately, and that's raised our apsis. We'll need to make another pass. Let's try this again. And this time I will try my best not to mess this one up. So 4994. Let's do that. That is a 13-second burn that we got to deal with. So I'm thinking somewhere between 6 and 7 is probably where I will burn at. So if we're lucky, and I think we should be, if we just let the sky stabilize for 10 seconds, I think it'll accept it. There we go. So, yeah, that's pretty much going to be our deal there. And we will now burn down probably to, I don't know, 40 or so kilometers, I think is good for aerobraking. That seems to be the deal. Hold on one moment. Sorry about that, we're now back. So, as I recall, we were not wanting to go to the Space Center. Although I guess we could. We don't necessarily need to recover the sky as such, because it will take a long aerobraking pass. That's the way I'm going to do it, I think. Although, you know what, I'll go ahead and I will get that situated real quick before I begin my launch of this next ship, which I intend to use to rescue Joeing, and we will recover this guy. And the idea is basically, I mean, we still got plenty of fuel here. So I think we will just go ahead and begin this recovery process now, and I will get us situated for error braking. So let's do one or two passes of that, see what our apsis is going to be like. Hopefully it will not be too bad. But I do want to kill all of this velocity I have here. At least some of it. And if we can get our error braking pass down to a fairly good amount here, I think we'll be okay. I didn't put this in error braking calculator or anything like that. I just, well, you know, for the most part, I just decided to, let's kill some of that apsis right now while we can still exploit the Obert effect. Or maybe not. We'll get this guy here. Down to a reasonable thing, and in fact, I'm going to probably orbit the planet just a little bit more as we recover this thing. Kind of interesting where our descending node is. It would be good if we wanted to meet up with a target of some kind. But actually, I want to raise that, so instead of doing that, I'm going to turn on RCS and burn backwards. Maybe to 43, I think would be a good pass or good error braking height. So there we go. Let's just get on down here, and I think at this point we will be good for re-entry. And there's the last of our fuel. I mean, fortunately, we're at a very good height for this. I'm just going to, just going to orbit the planet a couple more times. I think, before we recover this, and this is a fairly expensive probe, so I do want to make every effort I can to recover it. It's 81. I think we will take that. Even 70 I think would be good to take, but we'll just have to see. Where are we? We're over here somewhere. So yeah, I mean that's basically the deal here, and as long as we can maintain our orbit, then I think we'll be okay. Additionally, maybe we could rotate to change that some. Bring ourselves up closer here. Okay, one more pass should do it for us. And that'll be close enough for me anyhow. I don't... Well, you know what? Maybe two passes wouldn't be a bad idea here. Because we are like 3 days into orbit. And we might as well, while we're at it, collect some science data. While we can, anyhow. We can get the science from it. And there we go, I think. At this point, this is probably a little bit too shallow. No telling, really. But let's... get this down to where it needs to be. That's 66, we want 40. Or so. Or 31 would be even better. Let's go for a nice 35k periapsis. Okay, let's go on our way in. We don't really need this guy anymore. And we will be coming in a bit high. But let's point towards the ground here. And that will help us get on our way. There we are just passing over the continent some. I think we are a little bit too high, so I'm going to pop our parachutes and I'm going to lower our orbit if we can. In fact, It may be good for us to do the one thing you're not supposed to do and burn straight to the ground. Here we go. We are pretty close, son. Not as close as we would like to be, and I really should have conserved some of that fuel. But close enough to where it will make a bit of a difference. So I think we'll be some 30 or so meters off. Parachute deployment is going to happen before too long. And we are going to slow down fairly rapidly. Let's see what our consumables are like. We still have a fairly good amount of monopropellant. So, yeah, I think this was a success. And of course, we want to do a little bit better here. And not have our parachutes rip off of us, so time to slow down time warp. You can see we are landing at a very sedate pace here. So that's more or less it. And in terms of science, got 26.2. And if we can help it, we will just recover this guy, and let's see what we got in the way of contracts that we can be working on. Let's see, we are how far away? 89.6, that is more than good enough for me. Let's see. That begs the question, what are we going to get next? Polar satellite in the orbit of Kerman. Two of them. That one I think is a little bit easier to do than the other one. We get science from it as well. But I think this guy for sure we will want, because the science is great. So in order to do that, we just need to get Joning out here, or Joing. So for that purpose, I've constructed another rocket. I've constructed the OS3. Now, Bob, of course, cannot sit in there. Really, nobody should be sitting in there. Although we could do science with Bob if we wanted to, because this thing is able to maintain its own attitude. So again, we have Long Tall Sally as a stage here. And Joing, I think, is close enough. Let's target him. And let us get this guy taken care of. Okay. What's going on there? Because I was able to launch this just fine. We get 100% of the parts back though, which is excellent. Not that that solid fuel booster is worth anything. OS3, we have this guy launching. What's our tonnage? 21 tons. Interesting. Why is our thrust to weight ratio not that good? Because this guy has something to the tune of 31 tons of a mass. We're under that, so we should have a positive thrust to weight ratio. Or should we? Yeah, we should. We should be able to get some 31.5 tons off the launch pad with this. Let's give this another go. Because that is somewhat bewildering. What's it saying here? It would appear as though this is a little bit too heavy for us to lift off with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace that guy with maybe another back. So I have a feeling my thrust is not set correctly. When I tested this, it got off the launch pad just fine. So I'm not quite sure what's up with it. But if we need more thrust, and if this does not work out, then I will give us more thrust. Very interesting. It's probably dangerous to try to recover a vessel while it is still, its engine is still firing. So let's see, structural, we will add, I don't know what we really even need. These guys here. They don't weigh much though, they're dry. Their dry mass is something or other, so we'll try that. I think this will get us off the launch pad. Let's just move these guys up here and give it a shot. There we go. Now we of course have some overheating. But that's okay, we did save some fuel in that regard. Let's go ahead and target showing here. And let's get ourselves as far up as we can. Probably not a bad time to start our turn. The showing is directly overhead. Now, one thing that we haven't done, and it's just because I haven't put a Kerbal into space since we unlocked the astronaut complex, is we have not actually gathered any EVA data. And you know, that may be worth doing. Certainly, I don't think there's any harm in gathering EVA data. But I'm gonna pitch us over just a little bit. We have a lot more fuel, so we can get away with this right here. And let's try to get aligned with them. As well. There we go. Engines are out. And what can we do to make this a little bit closer? Is there anything? In fact, there probably is. But we're behind them, so we want to catch up. And that puts us in a very low orbit that I think we should entertain. But let's do that. If we can get Joeing on one pass, then all the better. That's a 15-second burn, so how about we burn between 8 and 7 or not? See, can we get this any closer? You know what, a low periapsis. is okay. Because we will be, we will lose a bit of velocity, but at the same time, not much. Can see that our axis is dipping just a little bit. And for some reason I cannot click and set a maneuver node. I think I may have just gone a little bit too low on this. Let's see if we can do anything to rectify that. Oh, come on. You know what it is? It's trying to... I guess we'll just have to experiment some. So let's get ourselves to apoapsis here, or periapsis. Let's burn prograde. 8.9. There we go. A little bit high. I think ultimately, once we get out of this, we'll be okay. We'll have Joeing on this vessel. It is not very far away. Probably just a wee bit above us. So there we go. Won't be too long before we can time warp. And once we get into position here, and that's going to be the tricky part, is getting ourselves positioned. And now we can't place maneuver nodes because of the positioning of our orbit. That will be a little bit tricky. How close are we to this deal? I think we need to actually burn a little bit towards the sky, and then we will slow ourselves down as necessary. There we go. We are only 2.8 kilometers away. Might as well make ourselves go a little bit faster. And I think at this point we're probably good to burn in towards our target. I think I can be happy with that. Now I just saw our target markers somewhere around here. Oh, it looks like it's in front of us. Excellent. Let's time warp in and now kill some of this velocity. I think that is very much in order here. So we can, we can reuse this as necessary. And I think we're close enough now. We can just have this guy pointed at the target. And we can do this. And I think joeing will be okay. We could do the spacewalk from elsewhere. So, yeah, I mean, that's not a bad deal to do here. We just want to be careful with our approach. Because as we know, burning towards an object is there we go. He's in now. So I think really the plan is at this point is that we will I think we should just recover the sky. And we got plenty of fuel with which to do it. So I'm going to be happy with that. We do want to save some of the fuel because, as it turns out, this craft needs it to land. It's not the most intelligent thing on my part that I've ever done. Let's just give ourselves a little bit of a high periapsis here. But I mean, it's not bad, and considering the circumstances, yeah, I mean, I think we're doing okay. So yeah, let's get this aero braking done, and oh, you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to take an EVA report. However, we do have to be careful about this. Let's take one now. That way, all we really have to worry about is getting it up in space. I might send Bob up to do that if I can manage to keep him alive. Because the science wouldn't be bad to have. I mean, we are completing this tier of the tech tree, which is fantastic. I mean, everybody likes to have a complete tech tree if possible. But we will just have to see. A drag is beginning to take its toll on us, and I think if we can hack... Do we have a crew report over the desert? No, crew report. Upper atmosphere. Let's keep that. We definitely do not want to throw that away. It was difficult enough to get. We're just a little bit shallow. Oh, there we go. I'm going to call that good enough for us. We're still in upper atmosphere, so the chances of us getting a crew report now are pretty much nil. So instead, I'm going to shoot for landing on land. And we do want to be careful in this particular situation because we're time warping, and that is always a recipe for disaster with parachutes. So I'm thinking we're probably close enough for parachutes. I'm going to turn off time warp now. Turn on SAS. And we are coming down at 6 meters per second. That is okay, I suppose. But it would be good to come down a little bit slower here. And where are we? The grasslands? Yeah, we're on the grasslands, so I'm just going to recover this because I believe we've gotten grassland science before. And that leaves us with a fair amount of money to begin with. Let's see what we have in the way of contracts that we can take on. I think this visual surveys contract is probably what we're going to focus on. Now there was another one that was a polar orbit around the moon. But we'll come back to that here in a bit. We are back, so all I've really done with the Sat-1 stack is that I've taken it and I have pretty much just removed the thermometer. So this is Sat-1NS. Let's go ahead and launch it. At this point we have to get up into a fairly high orbit. And I think that will be okay. This will be a little bit more taxing on our fuel. And you can see here we have this near polar orbit that we want to do. I just want to hit this apoapsis here, and it's pretty much circular, so we don't have to really worry too much about where we're coming in at, but let's go ahead and launch this. And this is confusing me. Why do we have no lift? This is something that is becoming a little bit irritating. Let me just make sure this is staged properly. Indeed it is. It's somewhat bewildering that we cannot get up off the ground with this. We did leave way too early though, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this solid rocket booster on it, and let's cut the thrust down to 50. Maybe that'll get us off the ground. As to why the thrust to weight ratio is like this, I could not tell you. But I think with this one change here, we'll be fine. And I do not believe we will overheat. Now we of course have the dead weight of these things to worry about, but that'll be okay. We'll be way out of the atmosphere before that becomes a problem. And unfortunately, I miscalculated there. This back solid booster is going to run out of juice before too long, so I'm just going to go ahead and let this guy continue going. Are we? Yeah, we're losing velocity. Quite quickly, in fact. But that's okay. And pretty much the plan here is that we're going to go for an equatorial orbit and then make adjustments as necessary to get the correct inclination. And I think if we adjust this properly, this should be able to get us into our higher inclination orbit as well. Our polar orbit. And having a polar satellite is not a bad thing to do because, well, I guess except for the fact that we can't really do the kinds of experiments that we want without a Kerbal inside, because we have to do crew reports. But I think that that'll be okay. We're still at like some 30 seconds here. We'll be able to hit apoapsis before too long. One of the things I neglected to do that I really should do is to get as much forward velocity as possible. Or vertical velocity would be good too. Or if we can maintain this orbital velocity, then I think we'll be okay. And it is time for us to stage. If we can get out of the atmosphere relatively quickly, I think that'll be a good thing for us. Okay, so there we go. That is probably more than good enough. Let's get out of the atmosphere before we do any major maneuver planning, so that drag does not get in our way here. There we go. We're closest probably to our descending node. Hard to tell. But 7992 is our target. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be close. And unfortunately, we cannot target this descending node. And we do something like that, however, we will be fairly close. Enough for us to be able to make adjustments if we really need to. We really can't do much more to get this guy lined up, I don't think. So yeah, let's prepare to burn here in just a little bit. Because we don't get scored on things like how close we are, so that will be worth doing, I think. A minute 9 seconds, which means I should probably be burning pretty soon. Again, doesn't have to be perfect here. Although I probably could have done better on the argument of my periapsis. Can we get any closer? Okay, that's more than enough. So we are at our ascending node. Let's reduce it down just a little bit. That's a 38-second burn. I'm not even going to... I'm going to use my RCS for that, I believe. And we are getting really quite fantastically close, except zoomed right past it. So let's just keep track of this. This is probably more than close enough for our purposes. And let's get a little bit closer in so we can hit our or our periapsis at the proper point. That actually looks pretty close to correct. So let's get in contact with this. And let's burn at 36 seconds. If we can get there in time. Okay. 36 seconds, there we go. We will see if we need further inclination changes from here. Well, my guess is probably so. Let's just cut engines, see if we don't need any corrections. There we go. We're good. So you can see that you can actually be a fair way off and still make this. And let's just return us down to orbit and give us a decent height. Like maybe, oh, I don't know. I think 40 worked pretty well last time. Maybe even a little bit lower. $35, maybe a little bit too shallow. Let's go for 38. You know what? Well, we really could. And go for something kind of like this. Let's deflect ourselves radially here, or not radially, but let's are we going north? We want to be going south. Bizarrely, because this point here is a point of inflection, or rather this point. And let's just burn at periapsis. That seems like the proper thing to do. We should be just about out of energy now. Let's use our RCS to get us down as quickly as possible. In fact, I think we're doing very well so far. Let's not waste our fuel. We'll be landing somewhere in the desert for our trouble. Or somewhere near the desert, anyway. Fortunately, this thing can perform a dumb landing pretty easily. I mean, as long as we get pretty close to the KSC, I'm not all that worried about it. Certainly getting this monopropellant back is a better deal. But we're getting pretty close to making our water landing. And so after this, we'll look at contracts, and I think we will call it a day. Although there's something I do want to get. There we go. Well, that's interesting. I'm not sure why we're hitting this so hard, but we can use RCS to slow down as needed. Which is actually grand. I didn't think we were light enough for that. But let's recover this vessel. We got 263. I think my next target will be the VAB here. For now, as far as contracts are concerned, we have Explore Minimus, which is worth it, I think. We can pick that up whenever we want to. This is about a polar orbit. It was worth 30 science. I think that will definitely make the Lunar satellite worth it. We have other things we want to do as well. We have one day to decide on this, so... You know, I think I'll take it. Although we do have this decoupler splashed down. The radial decoupler splashed down, which I think we can do quite easily. It's not worth much in the way of money, but it is worth 10 science. So we will accept that. And I guess for now I'll leave it at that. Until then, this has been Thy Lord Root, and I will see you later.